What's good, Wizards fans, and welcome to Locked On Wizards podcast. It's your host, the real Ed Oliver, my guy, Brandon Scott, and today we have a special guest, Wizards Mafia. We're going to break down the first 10 games of the Wizards season. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Wizards podcast. Thank you guys for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedonnba. And today we have a special guest from State of the Wizards podcast, my guy Wizards Mafia on Twitter. How you feeling today, man?
What's going on, guys? I feel really good, man. Thank you for having me on.
Yes, sir. So before we get started, how did you and DC Hoopla on Twitter, how did you guys get started with the podcast? When did you guys become Wizards fans as well?
Man, let me tell you, me and K Jose, DC Hoopla, man, we've been talking Wizards hoops for almost 20 years. When we met each other back in 2004, we were in that Gilbert Arenas phase. But it was good. It was good energy because we were on the verge of making the playoffs. So when we met at a time where, it was good energy. And so we were able to talk Wizards hoops, talk playoffs every year, 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007, and so on and so forth. And every year from that point, we were like, man, I just wish we can, talk, Wizards hoops in front of people as much as we talk it. We always wished we had this platform to talk Wizards hoops like what we're doing tonight with you guys.
Definitely, for sure. Yeah, there's not a lot of us out there, so we are coming up with more Wizards content, and there's more Wizards fans out there than what people think, for sure. So, just want to get your thoughts on the two games that happened: the Grizzlies game and the Wizards win against the Hornets. What stood out to you about those games, and what were your thoughts on Jordan Goodwin's performance in those two games? And do you think he deserves the opportunity to start?
Oh man, look, I love Jordan Goodwin, man. I think he's the energy that this team absolutely needed. It was like they found that diamond in the rough, with Jordan Goodwin. I think that for somebody like if you look at this team right now, I almost feel like Wes is trying to find something. Like he, you know what I mean? Like you could tell with the rotations and how we play in the half court, he's not getting that energy, and it seems like guys are just not feeding off of each other. And so Jordan Goodwin comes in and he gives us that ball of energy that we need. And for me personally, I think that's somebody you have to implement in the starting lineup because that's the jolt, that's the energy that the starting lineup needs. As far as the Grizzlies game, we got a great showing from Rui off the bench, great showing from Gafford. Gafford gave us some good minutes. And, Jordan Goodwin. Jordan Goodwin came in and played great defense on Ja Morant. I think that, again, somebody like that, in the very next game against Charlotte, give him, reward him for how he played, in the Memphis game. Reward these guys, reward Rui as well. And I like the showing. I like what these guys gave us, and that's the energy. The energy that Jordan Goodwin gave us against Memphis, it just rolled over into the Charlotte game.
100%. I mean, the guy went 100% from the field, 7 for 7 from the field. I mean, for him to come up from the G League, undrafted out of St. Louis, I mean, he is that diamond in the rough that the Wizards are looking for. I mean, he's not scared of the moment up against Ja, Terry Rozier.
Right.
I mean, we don't win this game without him. So, I mean, about the starting lineup, I know, they brought Monte Morris in to start. So, and I know him and Wes, they had that relationship, but I know Wes, going forward, he may have to make some tough decisions. So, but it's not always about who starts. It's about who finishes the game. DeLon Wright, when he comes back, he'll probably finish too. So
Absolutely.
definitely. So it's interesting. I do think that Jordan Goodwin, even if he doesn't start, he definitely deserves at least 20 to 25 minutes a game. I mean, the guy is definitely what we needed without DeLon Wright there. So
and see, that's another thing. You raise a good point. So let's just say he's starting and he's getting those reps, and he's a defensive minded player as well. When DeLon comes back, now you got that 1-2 punch. You got that defensive minded player in the starting lineup who's getting used to his role, and then you have DeLon coming back, in his defensive role on the bench. And I think that would just be a great tandem. When one guy goes off defensively, the other guy comes in, you're not getting a drop off.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he was getting pressure in the paint too, which is kind of what we've been looking for from Monte. I know Monte, that's not really his game. His game is kind of the mid-range game, getting guys set up in their sets, which is fine. But for what this team needs, they just need somebody to get in the paint. Gafford needs it. Porzingis needs it. Other guys need them to help them out and set them up for easier shots. And I thought Jordan Goodwin did a really good job of doing it. He had a beautiful pass to Porzingis to finish the game off where Porzingis dunked it.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure.
How about you, Brandon?
Yeah, I mean, Jordan Goodwin, man. I mean, he was that spark plug we needed. We needed a spark plug. You hit you made a comment about Monte Morris not being that guy driving the lane, and one of the things we were looking forward to this season was the pace being pushed faster. Bradley Beal has proven that when he has a point guard that can distribute, drive the lane, and open up the offense, that's where he's successful. John Wall years is a spot up guy. The 1 year of Russell Westbrook, look, season high. He was all NBA that year. So, I was hoping that, Monte would come in and kind of push the pace, add a little more stability to the point guard position. He's been underwhelming in my opinion. He's just, his shot has been inconsistent. He's just hesitant to drive the lane, and the first couple of games he was distributing the ball, but then after that, it's just, you're looking at nights where it's 2-3 assists. And when you're the starting point guard, I'm looking for more than that, man, especially when you're surrounded by shooters. Bradley Beal has his shot kind of took a nosedive a little bit. Yeah. But you still got Kuz, you got KP where, KP can be a little, he sticks on the three a little bit too much, but
right.
So, Monte, I think, we touched on this the last episode, man. I think he's, to a certain degree playing himself out of the position because Jordan Goodwin, if you look at the two acquisitions that made the most impact this year was DeLon Wright and Jordan Goodwin, a go-go guy. And you know what I mean? Like
at the point guard position. At his
spot. I mean, they've been that spark plug, both of them defensively and just the energy, man. And it's just, you wouldn't think that DeLon Wright would be such a hit to this team, but look at us, man. I mean, our defense took a nosedive. So, that's what I think, man. I think Jordan Goodwin, if he consistently puts up nights like this, you have to ask that question. Is it time to start him over Monte?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, like you said, Monte's playing himself out of that position because, he was rewarded that position just based off of his relationship with Wes Unseld Jr. So if you think about it, he hasn't really had to prove anything, where, you got guys that are hungry, that want that job. So, Monte is kind of like the guy that was given something, but, maybe he didn't really earn it. You see what I'm saying? So other guys that's playing behind him, they're making him, they're kind of exposing him in a sense at that position. They're really outplaying him at that position, to be honest with you.
Now, you brought up a good point. I mean, and a really good point. I didn't really think about that. But yeah, I mean, the fact that he was brought in, he's got the familiarity with West's system. Look, Jordan Goodwin's hungry. Look, when you hungry and you trying to eat, look, you move a little bit faster, man. You play a little harder. You know what I mean? He's playing hard because he's trying to get that bag, man. He's trying to get that contract. So now I love his energy, man. I love what I see from Jordan Goodwin, man. He's just like I said, he's that spark plug that we needed. We needed it because Monte just wasn't providing the energy, man.
Yeah, he's got that dog in him. I mean, he picked up a tech. It shouldn't have been a tech, but he picked up a tech. We love the energy that he showed out there. And he rebounds the ball.
I like the tech, honestly.
I like it too.
Because I feel like we got a team full of good guys.
That is true.
Yeah, but what did he do to earn the tech? Because it looked like he's like clapped his hand. Yeah, it's like, come on, man, let him play. Like, come on. He just came from the G League. I mean, score. Come on, man. Let him play.
That's the NBA now. If you dunk on somebody, you can't yell in their face. So that's the NBA for you right now. But yeah, Jordan provided a spark. So stock up, stock down. I would say stock up for Jordan Goodwin, stock down right now for Monte Morris. But we'll see. Monte had a clutch bucket at the end of the game, so we're going to need all our guys to contribute for sure. But before we get to the next question, this episode is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. You want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. When I was looking for a job, when I was coming out of college, I used LinkedIn all the time, so I know how easy it is, how effective it is, and it really works. It really helps out. So this is how it works for people who are looking to hire people. Then you add your job in the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you're hiring. Simple tools like screening questions make it easy to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you like to interview and hire. It's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. And also, thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every day. Now check out Locked On NBA. Check out Locked On Sports today. From the games that matter the most to the biggest stories in sports, go beyond the scoreboard and behind the scenes with local experts and insight only Locked On can provide. Locked On Sports today, available on this app, YouTube, and wherever you get podcasts. All right, and Brandon, you can go ahead.
All right. So if you look at the three main phases of Bradley Beal's career, right? When he first started, the spot-up shooter, J-Dub era, coming out of Florida, and then he evolved. If you look at him that 1 year with Russell Westbrook, more of a playmaker, more of a scorer, and, all-time, career high in points. And then you look at Bradley Beal now, where he's the franchise guy, the Supermax guy. So out of all these three eras, what would you say is his ceiling, and what would you say is his bottom line?
Yeah, I call him bankroll because he's the $251 million guy now. So look, I mean, Bill's ceiling is now. Like, I think he doesn't get any better than this. I think we've seen the best of Bradley Beal. I mean, let's just call it what it is. We've seen the progression up until this point, and we paid him based off of what he's already done, not what he can do. So me personally, I think that we've seen the best of Bradley Beal. But do I think that, he can't hit another gear? Like, let's say when the games matter, I think Bill really wants the big stage. The question is, does he get it here? Like, because one thing about Bill for me is he's always shown up when the lights are the brightest, right? So we've never had a problem with, Bill showing up in the playoffs. But regular season is kind of like you get the coast Bill. Bill knows what he can do. So I think Bill really wants the big stage to really, to really give us, more than what he's capable of giving us. Like, I don't know what that looks like, to be honest with you, but we've seen the 50-point games. We've seen the 30 points per game average over a year. Like, I think we're watching, the best of Bill.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Because if you look at, John Wall and Russell Westbrook, those are two guys who are alpha dogs. They're, the point guards, they're gonna push you. There's a lot of friction in the early years between John Wall and Bradley Beal. Alpha dog's always gonna have butt heads. It's just he had point guards who made him accountable. They pushed him. They brought the best out of him. Russell Westbrook brought the best out of him, just pushing the pace. And you can't say enough about the John Wall years, but with him being the guy, being the number one option, being the orchestrator, yeah, I think this is the ceiling because, me and Ed talk about it all the time. They keep, ever since Russ, was traded to the Lakers, we keep trying to find these combo guards who miraculously overnight are going to turn into starting point guards, and it never works out. We we waited for Spencer Dinwiddie, the longest trade ever, and it took like half the teams to get it completed. And then it didn't work out. You know, they slowed the pace down, and it's not how Bradley Beal works. And you look at Monte Morris, there was hope that he could push the pace, and he just hasn't. You know, and he hasn't attacked the basket, and that's just when you attack the basket, you're opening up the offense. You know, you got, especially when you got shooters surrounding you. Mm-hmm. Drive the lane. You get into the free throw line, you're opening up shooters on the perimeter. So I don't understand why he's hesitant. I mean, because if you look at the paint, we're rocking in the paint. You know, KP's rocking. Points in the paint, we're consistently we're outscoring them. So, Bradley Beal, I don't think it's time to panic yet, but will you see him take that step towards being a top tier or second tier player? I don't know. Last year it was a down year for him. His 3-point percentage went down. So far this season he hasn't looked the same. His 3-point he's still working on his 3-point shot. He's more of a mid-range guy, more of a DeRozan type player now. And I get it, the analytics. I really don't get into that, but look, the mid-range works when you're hitting it. So whatever. But it's really tough to see because, man, time and again, I fear this is going to turn into another Arenas or Wall situation where we paid him the money, and then it's just like, wow, man, we sitting around for the next 3-4 years, trying to, filter out the young Vesleys and trying to find these guys. And, I don't want to go through that again, but I fear it because, and I'm gonna get on Tommy real quick. Mm-hmm. Tommy, his trade game is on point. I'll give him that, just to get John Wall's contract, flip it for Russ, then flip it for, 3 guys where, you ended up getting further assets for 2 out of 3. And then you found a foundation, in Kyle Kuzma. But for him to turn around and get right back into a Supermax, man, I was just, come on, man. I mean, Gilbert Arenas.
Like he didn't, it's like he didn't learn, right? Because wasn't that the problem with John Wall's contract? Wasn't that the problem? Wasn't that the issue? It was what we paid John Wall and how long, John Wall was under that contract, and we gave it to him coming off of an injury. We did the exact same thing with Bradley Beal. So I don't think that he's really learning from those things. Now, I think people are putting more into it, with Beal than they were with Wall, because people was just tired of. I think people were just tired of the Wall Beal experiment, right? So, it was, and Wall was injured. People was saying the things that they were saying about Wall, but I think people are putting more into it with Beal, and they're like, this is the guy. This is who can get us over the top. And to be honest with you, where's the proof of that? There's no proof that works. Like, what we're doing is we're literally changing the guard every year to see if it works around Bradley Beal. But there's no proof. The only proof is the one season with Russ. But even if you look at that season, we were a 34-win team, and it took a play-in for us to get into the playoffs.
No, I agree. I mean, how long are we going to wait for him to be the guy? I can go outside right now and I can tap my SUV and hope it's a Mercedes. But, man, look, have fun with that. It's just – how long are we going to wish this guy is going to be something he's not? And especially the older he gets, he's going to decline. We're still waiting on him to be the guy. It's just, that's the biggest mystery is that, Gilbert Arenas, his situation curtailed this franchise for a while, and then and then you can't really put too much, hooray for drafting John Wall and Bradley Beal, because in that position, who else are you going to get? I mean, those pretty obvious picks,
Right.
So I'm not going to give him credit for that either. But, to turn around and get right back in the same situation with John Wall, and then you get out of his contract, you flip Russ, which I didn't think was going to be possible, and LA's feeling that a little bit, but to turn around and do that is just, especially with him potentially declining, I think could be a red flag, especially the further you go into this season. What do you think, E?
Well, yeah, I mean, it just starts from the top down. I mean, Ted Leonsis, he's a big fan of Bradley Beal. I know Bradley Beal's a great guy on and off the court. And then Tommy Shepard, who is an understudy of Ernie Grunfeld, who made similar moves that you brought up with John Wall and Gilbert Arenas. So Bradley Beal's a great player, but I think he's a number 2. I think he's a really good number 2. He would be a great number 2 option on a championship team. I do want to see him get better in the clutch, where he has turned the ball over a lot in late game situations where he's tripped over his feet, he's fumbled the ball. Some of that's on, should he really be bringing the ball up and handling the basketball when we need more of a natural point guard that can get to the basket and create pressure on the rim. But yeah, he's showing that he's just not he's not a number one guy, but I think he's a great player. He has regressed from the 3-point line, and I think his game, like you said, Brandon, is starting to become somewhat just like a DeMar DeRozan type of game, where it is a mid-range game where he's just getting to the basket, where he's not even shooting. He hasn't really shot many threes this season because he knows that's just not his strength anymore. And he has changed his game. He has tried to get to the basket more and just shoot mid-range shots. And a lot of step back jumpers. That's his go-to move.
Yeah, it kind of goes to Brandon. I don't mean to cut you off, but it does go to Brandon's point that the reason why you're not seeing that Beal anymore is because John Wall used to set him up.
Right.
So Beal was a much better spot-up three-point shooter with Wall than he is right now, trying to force those shots off the dribble.
Yeah, and yeah, that's the thing. So can they get a point guard? Because they're finding out Monte, he's probably not the best fit they found last year. They brought in a guy to play point guard that's not a point guard, who's a combo guard, who we're going to be playing on Thursday. We'll talk about that later. But I mean, they went through a carousel of point guards trying to fit next to him ever since they let go of John Wall. We talked about Tim Frazier, Shabazz Napier, Isaiah Thomas, Mighty IT, and it just hasn't worked out next to Brad. So it's like, how many times are you going to try this formula and it doesn't work? How many times can you keep trying it and it just doesn't work? So, I mean, what's the saying where you get fooled once and you fool me again, that kind of saying type thing. Yeah. So, I mean, Brad, he's a great player. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a multi-time All-Star, but is he a guy that's going to lift you over the top and be a number one option on a championship team? It's yet to be seen, like you said.
The whole try by error thing, man, it's crazy to me. Like, John Wall, we don't factor in John Wall is one of the guys that we tried with Bradley Beal. People don't factor that in. They say, well, Bill's had.
Yeah, you still there? Yeah. So he was talking about how. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, sorry about that. Yeah. I was just saying, we don't ever really factor that in. So Wall is the first guy we tried with Beal, right? And then, Russ, and then Dinwiddie, and now KP.
Yeah, I mean, the very definition of insanity is trying the same thing over and over. And
yeah, that's what I was saying. That's what I was saying.
I mean? Like, how many times you got to stub your toe to when you might want to walk a different way? I'm just saying, Before we move on, today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. I'm going to use it on Sunday. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there. From football to basketball to soccer to esports, we got it all at BetOnline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, such as this one, you can find those at BetOnline as well. We are always the fastest and easiest way to get in your betting fix. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. So, I think before we wrap up this episode, we have some over and unders.
Yeah, we're going to do a stock up, stock down. So if you just had to say 3 players where you saw their stock rose this season so far, and then, it could be a coach, it could be players. Who have you seen their stock kind of go down over the first 10 games of the season?
Let's see, stock's going down. I'm going to have to go with Gafford.
Mm-hmm.
Gafford's stock went down over the last 2 games, though. I think he's kind of made up for that.
Especially the Kevin Durant crossover.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the Kevin Durant crossover. I don't know.
Gas my guy, though.
My goodness.
Homeboy was dancing.
I'm going to say Monte Morris is definitely one, because I think the expectations for Monte coming in was a little higher, and he's not meeting those expectations. So I'd definitely say him. And, the last one, I'm gonna have to. I mean, do we have to say this, Johnny Davis? Like, do I have to say that? I don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it just he was supposed to contribute in some way, right? I mean, am I tripping? I thought, him being the 10th pick, he was gonna come in, he was gonna give us something. But he's in the G League and he did get caught up yesterday, but I don't think West played him. Yeah, those are my three guys I'm gonna go with right now.
Yeah, stock down for me is Monte. I would go with Wes Unseld Jr. Honestly, we just haven't seen any improvement defensively, man. We moved up from 25th in defensive rating to like 18, but he was brought here to be a defensive minded guy, and I just haven't seen it. I thought he was, he was a defensive guru with the Nuggets as their assistant coach, coaching up Jokic and Jeremy Grant on that Nuggets team, Jamal Murray. They did a great job. They upset the Clippers in the bubble, and Wes Unseld Jr. was a big part of that, but I just haven't seen it here. We still have the same problems that we saw with previous coaches here, like Scott Brooks. The defense really hasn't been any better. The 42-point loss to the Nets was disappointing. That's a home record loss. In the year before, we had the loss against the Clippers where we had a 35-point lead. That's a record-setting loss too. So Wes Unseld Jr. has 2 record-setting losses under his belt, and it's the adjustments. And I think the honeymoon period is over with. Players complaining about the offense being a little too slow and clunky. So I still believe in Wes. I'm rooting for Wes. I just want to see a little bit more from him, and I think he's a better coach than what he showed so far.
Stock down 3 players. Huh? I'm gonna do one player, and I'm gonna hit the front office a little bit. Player wise, Monte, easy. He was brought in to be the guy, and he's shown that maybe he's the guy in Denver. Maybe he's that bench point guard. He hasn't done enough to warrant that starting role right now. And I think that Jordan Goodwin, the better he plays, and with DeLon Wright coming back and DeLon kind of picking it back up, he could be gone by the deadline. Now, I think if you look at contract-wise, I think he's still guaranteed up to through next season. So, that could be a factor, especially when we have a few guys that we're hoping to extend. So, number 2, I'm at the bottom of UE, Wes Unseld. Look, the offense has got to stop being so stagnant. It's too slow. You got to pick the pace up. You've got to pick up the transition. You catch the defense off guard. You open up shooters the faster you play. Driving the lane, you get to the free throw line. I mean, it's a win-win. I don't understand why they're so stagnant, why they're so slow. I don't get it. And number 3, man, Tommy, come on, man, find a point guard. Stop playing around. Find a point guard. Look how many combo guards we want to try to convert. Like, come on, man. So that's my 3.
And can I say this real quick? And my thing is like his offense isn't just stagnant. Like, you got guys spread out on the 3-point line, right? But we're the 3rd worst 3-point shooting team in the league. And we haven't, at least I don't think that we've acknowledged that we're a poor 3-point shooting team yet. Last night, I think we only shot like 18 or 19 threes. So at least, I was saying to myself watching the game, okay, maybe they've acknowledged it, that they're not as good from the 3-point line as they think that they are, but they still run the offense that way. You still have that spread offense, and you're expecting that guy to drive and kick it, and then a shot goes up, brick, So maybe they need to change that entire strategy, because it's right now, that's not who we need to be.
Yeah, I said last night, me and Brandon, I said stop shooting them. I said, honestly, I'm thinking we should limit ourselves to 15 threes a game because it's just not our thing. We went 8 for 41 against the Grizzlies. It's just ridiculous. It's just not our identity. I think we need to find an identity. I think our identity is giving the ball to Chris Epps in the post or, pick and roll right now with Jordan Goodwin, getting open guys cutting to the basket, Rui with his mid-range game. And that's just our calling, running the floor, lobs to Gafford here and there. I think that's just our calling card. We're just not a good 3-point shooting team, and I don't think we need to force it. When the Grizzlies, we were coming back against Memphis, getting to the basket, not by shooting threes.
Exactly.
We started settling for threes, and if a missed 3 is a leading, John Morant's going to get the rebound. You know what he's going to do with it. He's going to zoom right up to the court, right up to their basket, and they're going to finish. So I mean, I would definitely shoot less threes. 41 threes should be inexcusable, and West should never let that happen. But Yeah, stock down. I would say Danny, I just want to see him improve shooting the three. That's not his game either. I know they're trying to make him into a 3-and-D guy. We'll probably talk about him a little bit more later extensively. But who's some stock up guys for you?
Stock up guys, I'm gonna go with let's see. I like, well, right now I'm gonna say that Porzingis stock is up for sure. I like let's see. Well, I for me, I think that, Will Barton is kind of surprising. His stock isn't like all the way up, but it's kind of surprising. I think I expect a little less from Will, but he's kind of giving me a little bit more. And DeLon Wright, obviously he's out, but that would be my other guy, because I think that, when he was healthy, obviously he was the difference maker.
Yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree. Stock up. Gotta say KP. He's healthy. He's got the beard rolling. I mean, he's playing at a high level. He's playing at an all-star level. He has picked up the slack. Now, I want to say Kuzma, but Kuzma has been inconsistent, but when he's on, he's on. When he's off, he's off. Kuzma, right. But at his size, his ability to drive the lane, and so a lot of these layups, man, these are contested layups that he's scoring with ease. So I'm going to go ahead and say Kuz, because Kuz is, he's had some off games, but collectively 2 out of the 3 of the solid 3, they've been solid in the absence of Bradley Beal. So those are my 2. Now you want to say Barton, but Barton his shot hasn't been dropping lately, but you kind of want to say Barton, because he on that second unit, he's been golden, man. So yeah,
I don't really complain about him. Like, that's the thing. I'm trying to find something, but I can't really find.
Yeah, I think Barton's helped out for sure. He's had some good games as that 6-man, bringing down guys one-on-one. Only thing that he does take some tough shots, but he makes tough shots. So there's going to be some shots where it's like, no, don't shoot it, but he's knocking it down.
Trigger happen.
Yeah, he can. He definitely can. So that's just a part of the nature of being that 6-man, that gunner coming off the bench. Stock up, obviously, Jordan Goodwin, for him to come from the G League and play like that, or be called up. Or, I mean, he did make the roster this year. So him to be undrafted out of St. Louis, just his story coming up and just going perfect from the field 7 for 7, and that's hard to do, and contributing to win. So his stock up is for me. Like you said, DeLon Wright, just to see how bad the defense is without him, just shows how good of a defensive player he is. I wouldn't have expected our defense to really just rely on one guy like that in DeLon Wright. So it's a good thing and a bad thing that our defense is really heavily relying on DeLon. And I think Rui these last 2 games, man, Rui has impressed me. I know he's been inconsistent. Yeah. You're going to get some games where he's not aggressive, and then there's some games where he's really aggressive, or where he's not shooting well. He might have some lapses on defense and not rebound like the way you want him to. It's a contract year for him, but I think the last 2 games he's really stepped up, and that block at the end of the game was huge for me. That's something that I want to see more from Rui.
Yeah, and I think we nitpick Rui. Like, I think you got people out there, they want him to do this and do that, and I'm like, look, what he does well for us is he provides that right now, that much needed offensive spark off the bench. And, he's not a point guard, right? So he's going to turn the ball over, but people expect him to be able to handle the ball. And I'm like, that's not in Rui's game. That's not who he is. So, I think maybe we have too high of expectations for certain individuals. But Rui's definitely one of those people that I think can live into it. It's just whether or not he gets that opportunity to do it every night. And when he does, he needs to take advantage of it.
Yeah, totally agree. I think, like E said, they really need to find their individual identities. And once everybody knows their role, I think they will be a better team going forward. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up tonight. This is part 1 of the 2-part series. So for the viewers and listeners who aren't going to catch part 2, do you have anything you want to plug real quick?
Just make sure you support Wiz Takes at Wizards Mafia on Twitter. Also follow my man DC Hoopla, and be sure to catch us at State of the Wizards on YouTube. And I really appreciate you guys inviting me on. Go Wizards.
Yes, sir. Definitely check them out, y'all. Definitely check them out. So thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen. For your next listen, check out the Locked On Sports Today podcast. The biggest stories of the day, plus instant reactions, big game recaps, and the take of the day. Available on Odyssey app, YouTube, wherever you get podcasts. Definitely like and subscribe. Check out me and my dude, the real Ed Oliver, on Twitter and Instagram. Everybody have a good night and peace.